Hi, welcome back to our third week of Arts for Lawrence Summer Camp. I'm your camp instructor, Sam, and today we're going to be making stained glass windows. So just some information about stained glass windows. They grew popular between the 11th and 13th century, whether in churches or castles. They were used a lot of times to show out a different story, or in other cases, just patterns, using those colors to bring in some really neat light into different various buildings. How stained glass comes to be stained glass? Well, they take the little bits of glass that we would normally see, and they use some kind of metallic salt that tints the different colors into those glass pieces. Once they have the glass pieces colored, they're put together into a pattern of some sort, or an image, like we said, used for those stories back in the day. And then from there, what used to be lead, or now just another metal alternative, is poured in between the different pieces, which creates kind of that outline and holds all those pieces together. So I remember as a child, I was probably about 5, shopping for a stained glass window for my grandmother. So she really wanted a stained glass window that had some doves. And I remember going to all these different art galleries and checking out these different art studios for local artists that made stained glass. And it was just amazing to see how many different types of stained glass there were. So it wasn't just pictures. They weren't just, different parts of like a storyboard telling a story. They weren't just patterns. There was just a wide variety of different stained glass windows. And although I couldn't convince her to pick the one of the clown, that was okay. She ended up getting her dove stained glass windows, and I learned a lot about a different type of art I had never heard of. So really exciting. I'm excited to get started today. Now, although we are not working with actual glass, we are still going to replicate what a stained glass window would look like, and as well as what it would do and how we would make it if we actually were working with that real glass. So how we're going to do that today. These are the things you're going to need. All right. We have our glue, our scissors, pencil and sharpener, always handy just to have on deck. I would say a tiny paintbrush. You don't need one of your big ones today. Some water. Again, we're just using this for glue today, but it might be handy to have some water in there in case we forget to wash this off. We want to make sure it doesn't get hard, and then we can't use it for painting later this week or next week. 1 piece of black construction paper, and this is what's going to replicate that metal outline. A ruler. You might not actually end up using this, but it just might be handy if you're going to get all your stuff out and ready to go. And then your tissue paper. So depending on your bag that you received, you might have 2 to 4 pieces of tissue paper. If you have more at home and it's okay with mom, dad, grandma, parent, guardian, sister, brother, whoever's it is, feel free to use your own. But you're not going to need a ton of it. So this is more than enough. And mine's wrinkly and it doesn't matter. But I would say at least 2 pieces. So you should have at least 2. We want to make sure you have 2 different colors. So I'm going to put that away for now. And then, last but not least, I almost forgot the most important part. If you open up your folder, you should have some extra clear sheets in the back. So there's like this soft tissue paper. You could also use this if white isn't one of the colors you already have. But on this side, the opposite side of your magazine and watercolor paper, you should have a clear sheet. So that's going to be like our window. Let's get started. So how we're going to do this first is we're going to take the tissue paper that we want. So I'm going to use this blue. And then you are going to just cut it into small pieces. I would say for our paper, anywhere from the size of like a quarter to no bigger than, let's say, 3 or 4 inches. You don't want to go, you know, too giant because then that's going to take up the majority of your window. We want to make sure we're varying it up. But again, we don't want to go too small either because then that's going to be kind of a pain. So, and it doesn't matter what size they are, or excuse me, it doesn't matter what shape they are. So I'm just going to start with strips to make it a little bit more manageable. And you can cut it, like I said, the shape doesn't matter. So if you're one of those people and you like to keep things nice and orderly, you can make them all the same shape. I'm going to probably do some strips and then cut those each a little more randomly than the last. So I have this piece. This would probably be about fine, but I'm going to go ahead and do some triangles on this one. And then just start creating a little bit of a pile. So mine are a little small. I think this next one, I'm gonna try to make some bigger ones. And you wanna make sure you don't spend too much time only cutting the one color because we wanna get at least 2 colors on our actual window. So I don't want to spend all my time cutting up the entire blue sheet. We might actually use these tissue papers next week. So feel free to hold on to what's left. As always, we can always use those scraps in other art projects. So to make art, that's what makes art pretty cool. So I got my red one. Get a little more adventurous. I just cut off a random triangle. Now, how much you actually need depends. So I would say let's cut a fair amount, and then once you get the hang of what you're doing, you might decide, okay, hey, I want to add another color, and that's completely fine. You'll see kind of at the end what I'm going to do with mine. So then we're just trying to mimic actual stained glass. I'm going to try doing a third color, just because I know that I really like all 3 of these colors. This is like a light purple. I don't know if it's hard, it's kind of hard to see, but this is some lavender. Like me, your hands are getting sore. I have very short, stubby thumbs, so sometimes the scissors are a little difficult for me. So this might be it for now, but like I said, I could always come back later and cut more. All right, so I have my 3 colors. I have, you know, my little pieces here. How you organize them is up to you. Again, I said, you know, they have patterns, just designs. Actual images, you know, stained glass that spells out a story. So the possibilities, excuse me, are endless. So it's up to you how you want to handle that. So you're going to take your clear sheet, and then you are going to just use a little bit of glue. I know I say that a lot, but this is essentially important, or is especially important. My goodness, I'm losing my mind today. Is especially important because we don't want to mess with the light shining through on that tissue paper. So, so there's a little bit there. And again, it's up to you if you want to do a pattern. I'll probably do a pattern. I'm going to start with the purple, do kind of an outside little circle. That's why I'd use the small brush too, because like this one, don't need a ton, but it was a bigger piece than I thought, so I wanted to get the edge down. Then it doesn't be perfect. Your lines, when you were cutting, weren't perfect. So this is how I started off. I have a little hole in the middle, so I'm gonna try and cover that up. If not, I can just take another piece. You can double layer these if you really want to. I don't know if I have that patience, but you might want to. Might help for some of these lighter colors too. And I'm gonna move on to the red. And I'm gonna do a layer on the outside of the purple with the red. Might need to cut some more, and that's okay. Now you have plenty of tissue paper. So like I said, if you really just want to do a small portion, you can do that, and then we can cut the window itself out into a different shape of the clear page. Or if you want to fill out the whole clear page, you have plenty of tissue paper. So it's up to you. Let's see how far I get here. I don't want to keep you guys all waiting. Okay. Got my red. And then I'm going to do my blue. Alright, I have a lot of tiny pieces and I'm not digging that, so I'm going to go ahead and cut some more blue. I think that I can benefit from some bigger ones just around the edges. So. All right, so like I said before, you can completely cover the entire page, but I am going to, just to keep it short for you guys, I'm going to leave it as this. So if you don't want to do the whole rectangle shape, that's fine. You can actually leave it like that. I'm going to go ahead and put mine aside for a second. And go ahead and I'm going to get out my black sheet. And the black sheet is going to be on the top of that. So for my case, since I am going to not do the whole sheet, I'm going to go ahead and cut out what I did do. This has to be perfect. All right. Now, if you look on the side that is not the paper, so the other side you see through the clear sheet, you can kind of see my glue, and that's fine because remember that glue dries clear. So I cut out my sheet, or I cut out my shape, excuse me, and then I'm going to go ahead and get my black sheet, and I'm just going to, with my pencil, lightly trace the shape I cut out. So again, if you left your clear sheet uncut, that's completely fine. That's actually pretty awesome. And I'm proud of you. And if not, I'm also proud of you because I'm sure you picked a really cool shape to cut it out of. So once you do that, you can go ahead and cut the black shape out. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. If you want to go a little outside the lines, that would also be fine. And then now what you're going to do, and this is going to be a tricky part, so you might need to ask a parent or guardian to kind of help you out, is you're going to cut the holes in the black part that are going to create the outlines where we can actually see the stained glass through it. So it's going to mimic as if we have those that metal liquid in between the different pieces of glass. So, so we want to be able to see this beautiful color and the light coming through that color. So we're going to actually figure out what kind of holes we want to create in here to make like a window effect. So we want to make sure we leave room for the outer parts, like the actual frame. And we want to make sure that we don't want to make our lines too thick, the border too thick, or excuse me, too thin. Because remember, we're imagining that these colored tissue pieces are like little bits of glass, and then this is what's actually holding it in. So like we did way back when we did our word pop art a couple weeks ago, remember I said the easiest way is to bend it, do a couple of snips while it's bent, and then you should be able to, from there, cut out the hole. Again, no shame in asking a parent or guardian for help. I'd rather us all stay safe. I just did random little holes, so if you are trying to do a certain pattern and it doesn't turn out that way, it's fine. Remember, sometimes the best art happens on accident, so. That's one of my window panes, I guess I could say. And go for another one. So I'm gonna fold it a little bit and just go. All right. So this is what I came up with. And then I'm gonna take my clear sheet back. Now, instead of doing it on the side where I glued all of the tissue paper, I'm gonna actually flip it over. I'm gonna match it the best I can the shape I cut out. There, I think that's. There we go. Oof. And then if you need to, and I will in a second, so I'm gonna show you, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna take your glue and again, just lightly on the back side of your black sheet, do a quick outline. You're going to glue it to the smooth side. We'll call it the smooth side because it's not the side you glued the tissue paper on. The smooth side of your clear sheet. Again, I cut mine out. You didn't have to do that though. Okay. And then, as you can see, I have some holes in mine. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is I'm gonna flip it back over to my tissue paper side, my rough side, and I'm going to fill in all the stuff that I can see the table through with more tissue paper. So again, no shame if you didn't cut your border as perfectly as anticipated, because I certainly didn't. And remember, your glue is gonna dry clear. So although on the front side you might see those white spots and get a little nervous, it's okay, because before you know it, it will be clear and it's gonna look so cool with the light shining through with that tissue paper. So go ahead and finish this up. I'll show you what I got. All right. So remember before I had some gaps where you could actually see through the clear sheet. So all I did was go through and supplement those spots with some more tissue paper, and there you have it. So now, I know it's kind of hard to see. I'll use my phone flashlight, but you should be able to hold this up to the light. Ooh. And those colors will kind of shine through. All right, so I'm really excited to see what you guys come up with. Like I said, there's tons of possibilities when it comes to real stained glass, and that's no different than our project today. So whether you filled your entire clear sheet or you experimented a little outside like I did, I'm sure it turned out beautiful. I'm sure it turned out super neat, and I can't wait to see it. So feel free to show us either on the Zoom call if you're with us there, or post on our Seesaw. And if you're not sure how to access that, please feel free to email Tony or message myself on Zoom and we'll get you set up. But I want to see our finished products, so feel free to send us those images. So, have fun. I'll see you again tomorrow.